I know.
Good morning, Evelyn. Can you see us and hear us all right?
I can. Hi, everybody.
Okay, great. It being 11:30 on December 10th, I will call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Boise Public Library Board of Trustees to order, and ask Carrie for a roll call.
Johnson. Here.
Here. Oh,
Hall.
Yes.
Bunny.
Here.
Pantera. Kuznetsky.
Here.
4 board members present. Pantera absent.
Very good. So the first order of business is communications. Does anybody who'd like to introduce?
I believe everyone is no.
That being the case, we will move on to the minutes of the November 12th regular meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look them over? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve them as presented. So moved. We have a second. All right, roll call, please.
Johnson. Kamal.
yes.
Bunny.
Yes.
Kuznetsky.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carried.
Very good. So next up on our agenda is the consent agenda. As a reminder, all matters on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be approved in a single motion. Any trustee may ask that have an item removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. For anyone who would like anything from the consent agenda removed and considered separately. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
That we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Carrie, if you do the call or roll call, please.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kamal.
Yes.
Bunny.
Yes.
Kuznetsky.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carried.
Okay, we're rolling along. On to the Friends of the Boise Public Library. There. No. Nobody's from the Friends group this time, so we will move on to Camille and the Boise Public Library Foundation. Good morning, Camille. Welcome to the board meeting.
Morning, everyone. Thank you. Our update this month is that our year-end appeal 25 for 25 is underway, and we are making progress. We have set a stretch goal of $25,000 with the final purpose of the funds to be confirmed at the end of our campaign. Our bingo night event, which was held this past week on Giving Tuesday, saw decent attendance for a weeknight, and final numbers are pending a technical systems update. It was a fun evening and provided positive exposure for the foundation. The other update is that the election of board officers will take place at our January meeting. My term as board chair will conclude at that time, and I look forward to introducing you to our new leadership early in 2026. Those are our updates for this month. Any questions?
Let me just say on behalf of my board colleagues to thank you for your service. It's been great working with you, and look forward to continuing to work with you as just a regular board member, not necessarily as the president of the foundation board. But thanks for all your great work, and look forward to meeting the new leadership.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next up is our report from Jessica.
Yeah, I have a couple things I'd like to share. First, I want to thank everyone who reached out following last month's meeting where I was not able to attend because of the death of my mother. I really appreciate your willingness to reschedule some of the agenda items and then the personal notes that so many of you sent me with reflections, poetry, thoughts for me and my family. And I just want to acknowledge how well cared for I felt. And then I also really want to thank the team that just stepped in that day and made that board meeting happen, and particularly Emily Johnson, who stood in for me on almost no moment's notice. But just really, again, want to thank you so that I could be with my family at a really challenging time. Moving on to something that we were just at this morning, I want to thank Ron and Brian and everyone who joined us this morning at Poland Ustick for the ribbon cutting for the anti-bird strike mural that is now safely installed on that mural. Renee is going to talk a little bit about, as you see, Poland Ustick is on our agenda for today, but it really was a fabulous opportunity to highlight one, the partnership with Boise State, the library, and our public works team to address an ongoing issue with bird strikes at that location. And that's the part that was just really exciting. The community had been asking us, is there something that we can do to prevent bird strikes? And we have a beautiful, beautiful solution that looks like it's always been there. And I did get to make a joke about we'd like to have a safe and welcoming city for everyone. For the birds, it's safe, but no longer welcoming. So they will not be flying through our building. But that was really great. And really, again, I want to thank Ron and Brian for being there and representing the library board. One thing I want to highlight is you approved in last month's meeting our end of year and our request for a one-time M&O rollover. You approved it last month. It's going to allow the library to roll over $70,000 in unspent MON maintenance and operation funding from FY25 to 26. We have made the decision to allocate that funding to the purchase of digital resources. As you know, this is an area where we continue to see growth. Our community is expecting and using more digital resources. And we believe that with that funding, we'll be able to buy approximately 1,500 ebooks and e-audiobooks. So with an average checkout for digital copies of about 17 times for each digital copy last fiscal year, we think we'll have approximately 25,000 checkouts from that additional funding. So this that end of year rollout will go to council on Tuesday. When we get that funding, Kathy and her collection development team is ready to immediately purchase those titles. And so we will see more materials available for our community and a shorter wait time on holds for some of our more popular titles. And I just wanted to highlight that because of the work the Kathy's team did to really make sure we were putting that money to an immediate community benefit.
So sort of follow-up question to that, I know as we've looked over the last year, certainly of the monthly reports, those numbers for the digital use are jumping like crazy. It's your sense that this will certainly help alleviate it, but is it enough to cover that pretty big spike in the use of digital materials versus analog or print materials?
No, we continue to see that trend. And I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at, I included a link to the Urban Libraries Council Insights report that they did. And our usage statistics on digital materials tracks to the rest of the country, that libraries are seeing, that we continue to see year over year increased usage of digital materials. So our libraries, the struggle that we have in terms of identifying additional resources for those materials continues, and it's a trend that we're seeing nationally as well. And that, if there's any questions.
I had a question. I was interested in the indigenous Idaho training. I'm curious as about the definition of indigenous. Is this Native American people or some larger group than that?
My understanding, and I'm happy to bring back more information on it next month if that'd be of interest. It is specifically focused on the Native population in Idaho.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, so the next item on our agenda is request for reconsideration. And again, this month we have none, which is kind of surprising. It's been now 4 or 5 months in a row that we've not had any request for consideration. Knock on for Micah here or whatever this is. Hopefully we'll continue that way. And then moving on to old business, this is again a month where every month we do our policy review, and so I guess we'll to join us. I'm sorry, in the second year.
No problem. Thank you all for having me. Happy to see some of you again this morning and be standing in for Sarah Kelly Chase. We've got another straightforward month for you. This month, we're going to be reviewing parts of section 3.00 on services. Several of these have been reviewed and revised relatively recently, so we'll go through them. We do not have any recommended changes for the policies being presented. So specifically, we're looking at 3.01 service priorities. So that enumerates the services that are essential to the library's mission. We last updated that in 2011 and have kept it consistent through then. 3.02 looks at how the library maximizes service hours within its budget and personnel capacity. That's one that's been revised relatively recently in 2022. 3.03 is specific to provision of services to schools in the Boise area, city of impact, as well as greater outside of the immediate Boise area. That one was revised in 2023. And finally, 3.06, which looks at unscheduled closures and revised hours, which was last updated in 2024 and allows for those unscheduled closures to be determined by library director and designees. So as I stated, no recommended changes on these policies, but does anyone have any questions?
Questions?
Still read well and cover the topic. We're good.
Yeah, as well, so.
We did bring the policy about unscheduled closures a little bit earlier this year, and we're going to try to put it in that December meeting. Just as the reminder, particularly for board leadership, I am calling you when there is an issue where we are in a place where we'll need to close the building, either or the system. Ron and Nikki got a call last month. So this is a policy that gets a lot of practice, and I think has been good to have the policy so clear.
And great to have it reviewed before whatever call us.
That we thought about it this year.
Yep.
I think we should do this in December, not after the fact.
Yeah, wait for the ice to create problems. So great. All right. I guess because it's just review, we do not actually have to vote on this. So thank you, Renee. We'll move on to the interim fiscal year budget change. Everyone's had a chance to review this, but
Page 43.
Oh,
Emily's.
presentation. Thank you.
Yes, well, there's actually, I don't know, I don't have much to add outside of what's in your packet, but just as a reminder, the IBCs are a mid-year budget change that needs board approval to change our budget. This year, we are requesting an IBC approval from the board to bring on 2 additional positions to our Collister Library. This is really helping set us up for maintaining a high level of service and safety at the Collister location as the activity in that area really starts to pick up due to growth and the opening of Interfaith Sanctuary early next year. We've been working with the city on this for quite some time and partnered with this. Our Human Resources Department are also requesting 2 additional security officers to, again, help support that branch.
You have any questions about this request, this change?
Sorry, I'm not looking at that one.
Hearing none. Yes, we need to then entertain a motion to approve the interim budget change and to forward it on to the city council for their
We approved the interim budget change and forwarded it on to city council.
second.
Second,
Carrie? You do the-
Johnson, yep, Johnson.
Yes.
Lenny,
Yes,
Pantera. Yes. Kuzinski,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Let's go. Procedural question. When someone is gone at the beginning of the meeting, then what do you want to do something to acknowledge that they are now?
You should, or Carrie will probably note it.
Okay, I just didn't know whether there was.
We can say hello.
Enjoy this. Yeah, and I just wanted to know whether I'm supposed to actually do something or is it just?
Carrie will note in the minutes when you came in, we are very pleased that you're here.
All right, so moving on, we now go to the facility plan update. This is one of the items that we postponed from last month.
Yeah.
So take it away, just.
Thank you. This is the first of two items that were on the November meeting that we just moved to the December meeting. And I will start with the first one and then Lindsay Erb will do the second. So you'll get a chance to hear from both of us in this.
Sorry, it's not sharing, so I will get this going right, because Evelyn's not seeing it.
Oh, Evelyn's not seeing it. Okay.
Okay, so Evelyn, can you see her screen now? It starts out with mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. See if I have control. Or do you think I have control?
I'm gonna have it here. Backwards.
As you know, we've been working on the long-term facility plan. We had a joint work session with council in October. And what I wanted to do, while the work session lasted, it went long. I feel that we didn't have at the end of that work session an opportunity for a really solid wrap up and summary of next steps. That the council ran out of time in that discussion. They had to go off because they had an evening session. And so I feel that the meeting that we'd had previously with them, there was a really strong wrap up, and the next steps were really clear about what was agreed on and what were our next steps going forward. Since that didn't happen in the meeting, I have done some work to make sure that we understood sort of the alignment that we had with the library board and with council, and then what additional questions we should be addressing with upcoming work. So I want to thank everybody who was part of those conversations that we had to make sure that we can come back to you with, okay, here's where we have alignment, and here's the work that we're going to do next, and how everyone board and council will be involved.
Since we can't see Evelyn on the screen, Evelyn, if you have questions along the way, just speak up, because I can't see you to recognize you if you actually do have questions.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you. That's a good point. It's not working, yeah. Okay, next one. So again, really trying to have a facility plan that we make sure our facilities are welcoming, accessible, we've got comfortable spaces. And what I want to do is just go back as a little reminder about the when I started that joint work session, here were the recommendations that I presented based on the work that we had done. These were my top recommendations. Number one, we want to make sure we're investing in the upkeep of the current facilities and services. Two, wanted to explore opportunities for expanded reach through innovative services and partnerships. And then 3, want to have a plan to increase the square footage we have for library services. So those were what I presented, and that was, I want to remind us of sort of where that work session started, because when I went back and was talking to people, I wanted to make sure we had some real clear takeaways of where we have strong alignment and where we're going to be doing some next work to address some questions. So I had multiple discussions with the mayor's office, city council leadership, board leadership, just to make sure we're all on the same page on that. And we have some real strong alignment on that recommendation to invest in the upkeep of current facilities and services. I know that there were, I don't want the questions that we are going to be looking at next to lose that real strong expectation from you as a board, from council, from mayor's office, that we need to make sure we know what we need to invest in our current facilities so we can keep up our current level of services. And actually in this next presentation, Lindsay's going to share more about the work that we've been doing to really cost that out and start to schedule what we think we will need to have for our current facilities. And then the other thing is I want to share with you sort of the clear next steps that we have to address the questions that council raised. So you'll see sort of the next steps that we've put forward. And these will, the order of these are clear. We've got a rough outline of when we think these discussions will happen. Obviously, some of that will be timing dependent on scheduling, particularly council's schedule. But that is why we're thrilled that we have Courtney Washburn here, who will help make sure that those meetings do get scheduled. So the first is we're going to do a council work session specifically on the questions that were raised by council of the downtown library. That will happen next week. Lindsay's going to preview the information that council will see. So we'll do that same, you'll see it first, and then council will see it. But then what I'm excited about is the discussions that we'll have next year that really focus on some of the questions about library site location criteria and service goals, and then some of those options of how we could meet those, particularly with some additional guidance on options that may be in the $10 to $15 million range. With those two things in place, then we'll be able to have another work session on really, okay, what's the capital plan and how we're moving forward. So as I said, these 4 key touch points and discussions, the council work session will be next Tuesday. This will be an investments, it'll be an overview of the investments made in the downtown library since 2019. So that the council will have an updated forecast for all the major building systems downtown once the project on the first floor renovation is complete. And a lot of that, I think, will be, when you see Lindsay's slides, it will be the same slides you saw with council. A lot of it will be reviewed to you. I realized through the discussion with the joint work session that council didn't have the same information that you had. So this is really designed to catch up council on the substantive work that we have done in the downtown library, continue to do. And then next we'll start looking at potential updates to the site selection criteria for where library facilities would go. This is where we were asked specifically to look at specific service goals and to look at particular sort of targets by demographic, by geography, some of the questions that came up about how we're making sure that we're looking through an equity lens. We'll start some of those discussions, obviously, in the January meeting with you, and then February meeting, and that'll build to a February or March work session with a joint work session with board and council to bring that together. Then we'll do some of the options to meet that. This is where I said, how would, with service goal in mind, with site selection criteria, what would be some of the potential options for expanded reach? Particularly that innovative services and partnerships. And then also council very specifically asked, what would a library project in the $10 to $15 million range, what could that afford us? So we'll be sharing that again with you first to sort of that March, April timing, and then working with council in April as well. And then with that, we'll be able to tie those all together and have a discussion that really helps with the priorities and sequencing for our capital plan investment for library investments. And we'll time that, try to have that sort of in the May, June timeframe. Any questions? Thoughts following the joint work session? Anything you would like to make sure that we are also making sure from a board's perspective that we're factoring in as well?
So I'll just make an observation, which was, I was surprised at our joint session that the notion of a replacement for the downtown branch came up. I'll just say that when I joined the board, it was certainly my understanding from the mayor that that was not something that was, in light of the former I'll just call it $130 million project that was determined not to move forward for a variety of reasons. I was under the impression that we were full bore on maintaining and upgrading the existing building and not considering any replacement of it with something new. So that was a surprising notion in terms of it's a question or, please, why aren't you considering? That was sort of the implication of the questions. And so I guess I would perhaps someone can speak to that, because I was just caught off guard by it. I'll just say, am I misunderstanding where the city is on that? Perhaps I'm going to express it to you.
Oh, sure, you can put me on the spot. So I think your understanding is correct. The city would not have made the investments we've made in the downtown library if we had plans to do something different with that location. When we unpack this, I think the confusion may have come with the timing of I don't know if we want to use the word abandon the new main library proposed meets today. We did look back and see, I can't remember how many councils had changed from the time we had set that direction. So my guess is where the confusion came from is when someone started serving on the council. The original council that made the decision to put a pause on a new library and invest in this one either didn't remember or wasn't actually present during that time, because what the city had done with the main library in anticipation of demolition was stop all maintenance. And so by the time the mayor took office, the downtown library was in desperate need of something. Either it needed to be removed or it needed to be invested in. And at that time, we decided to invest in it and have continued to do so today. I was also surprised at the notion that we were revisiting this conversation, but for several reasons. One, the investments we've currently made in the downtown library. Two, our financial situation. And three, the desire for more, not to expand the system, puts us in a position of not keeping the downtown library, keeping our investments intact. But I believe the confusion came from we really had to go all the way back and see who was on council at the time, and it was not the people you see today.
Thank you.
I'll add, because we did go back and look, and it is a whole new council. I will add that when the discussion was being made about replacing the downtown library, obviously before any of us were in these roles, there were two comments about, well, the building has not been invested in and it's too small for, we know we're undersized. So the building has now been invested in. We are still undersized. And so part of what this plan has is some options on how we can look at the entire system in terms of additional service. So not just looking at one building, but looking at how we're looking across the system.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
Ron, I would just say thank you, Jessica, for putting all the work into this, and Courtney and the city to come up with a plan, because it did feel like we were not aligned as I expected to be at the city meeting. So I think this will be a good one forward. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other comments, thoughts, we will move on to item D, capital project update, and Lindsay, you're on.
So Lindsay will, do you need, I'm gonna, could you have this? But like I said, Lindsay is going to preview what she's going to share with council. I'll be there obviously with her as well next week. But we didn't think that, I mean, you are all welcome to attend as well, but since it is a lot of review for you, we didn't think that it warranted having a joint work session on this. And then we'll also call out a couple things that are sort of new work that we've been doing that builds on some of the work that we've previously shared.
Yep, and this is highlighting a memo that was asked of Public Works to send to mayor and council that addressed sort of some of that confusion around the downtown library. So we have some updates on milestones, as well as the reinvestments we've been doing over the years that will be probably, you all know already, but we haven't done an update for a while, so it'll be good. And feel free to ask questions along the way. We'll also look at some of our branch strategy, the leased and owned models. And then we were also asked about the space actually next door for a potential expansion to the Hillcrest branch. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And then just overall, what is our maintenance and repair program, not necessarily just for library systems, but all city assets. So this is a high level graphic to just kind of go through that evolution of the discontinued new library project. Courtney touched on that pretty well, that we changed from a replacement to a reinvestment. So we did a facility conditional assessment in 2020, which is pretty typical of what we do with all of our city assets, to create sort of a high level list that we know we need to get after deferred maintenance. So, and then also in 2022, as you all recall, the library did a new strategic plan. And we've continued our deferred maintenance into the first floor, which is under construction. We'll look at some pictures of that. And then the facility master plan began. And as a reminder, I always say this, our strategic plan always informs the facility master plan to help provide the spaces needed for the service goals set by the strategic plan. So again, just key milestones really in 2022 or 2021, we started the deferred maintenance and ADA upgrades that had been sitting for quite some time. Those have continued. We've completed several projects along the way, and to date, you recall we got 1.175 million from the Friends with some additional funding support that's bolstering the first floor remodel and finishing some of that deferred maintenance. So just a high level current status, rest assured the building is structurally sound and functional. It's quite energy efficient. We're on geothermal, which is great. We have flexible spaces. We're continuing to create more flexible spaces, and we continue to serve tens of thousands annually from our community. But as any city asset, it will continue to require reinvestments along the way at regular intervals that we plan with our MRM and our facility team. And just a reminder on projects completed to date, the first out of the gate was installing our first auto sorter to the system. We did replace the roof and did some upgrades. Oops, I wanted to use a pointer. Is that a thing? Maybe not. But we did include raising the parapets with that roof for safety, and also upgraded the exterior building lights to LED. We replaced the fire pump, and we've done restroom upgrades in the 4-story that have been completed, now ADA compliant. And with that, we upgraded all the plumbing and HVAC. We've done some back of house, fourth floor tenant improvements, and all of this has been strategically planned in an occupied building, as you know, so that we can create these efficient back of house spaces and open up some more public space for the first floor. So current work, I know maybe some of you have poked your head into the construction site. We'll get some tours eventually, but we are remodeling. You can see in this first picture, that is the youth services cleared out. That was quite the heroic effort by everyone. But you can see there's still like 3 different shades of carpet genres. So all of that is getting taken out and replaced. The next photo up there is a rendering of what that space will look like when we're done in that youth service area. So we do have part of the scope is the information desk changing and just opening up a lot of flexible space for youth services, teens, that type of programming. But there's some construction shots, just in case you're curious, behind the scenes, recycling a lot of metal, found some old brick walls, old CMU walls, some surprises along the way in this building, but
You can see the slide. It was a warehouse and they used to slide materials down from the second floor to the first, and there's the little remnants of
just lots of
So that second shot on the left is not, it is not the wiring plan for the, just kidding.
yeah, it's what it looks like. We're cleaning that all up. But yeah, we're continuing all the plumbing upgrades. We had to come across the collections to the 1-story to get those picked up. We're replacing the entire electrical system and then HVAC upgrades with the remodel. And one of the biggest things that our facilities team is most excited about is replacing all the lights to LED. And then, of course, it'll come with finish upgrades and acoustic performance upgrades. Yeah.
So I actually do have a serious question. I'm joking one about the wiring. I know one of the goals of the city is to become increasingly energy self-sufficient. So the question is, was there ever consideration, or would there be consideration in the future of putting solar panels? I mean, it seems to me there's no impediments in terms of trees or other things. It's a flat roof. I just wonder about that as an option moving forward.
Yep. In Public Works, we have an environmental group, and they actually have just completed a solar scoping program to see where opportunities might be. And I know they did look at the main library to put solar panels, but I don't know that we've got funding to move that forward. But yeah, we do look at those.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions on current construction? So in all the reinvestments, we've listed out the projects and just kind of high level construction costs there. Something that's coming also with this first floor project is MRM project for the elevator replacement and modernization. And so that'll be going out to bid and getting completed with the first floor remodel as well. That's offline. And then the last little piece we keep kicking down, but we're about to get it out to bid this spring, is the exterior facade improvements. So repointing the brick and some window enhancements. And then you'll see some slides similar to this as we move through the system, but this is our MRM plan for the downtown library. This came into the city portfolio for our facilities management team in about 2023. So getting all these things up to date has been important for us, but we still have planned in the capital budget the parking lot improvement to address some storm drainage issues. So I added a rendering of what that looks like. We'll be working on that, and the design has gone through schematics, and we will do construction with funding, hopefully starting in FY27. And then just routine maintenance as with all of our projects or properties, we'll want to be replacing carpet and floors 2 and 3 and painting to kind of bring everything to match the first floor vision. And then, like Jessica alluded to, relocating operations potentially someday to create more space for the public and collections to be determined. And then just wanted to touch on the branch strategy, the lease model. We are aligned with leasing spaces in the future. We think this really allows for some flexibility so that we can be where we need to be to address demographic and growth amongst the city. This is a more cost-efficient approach where we're not having to put in more capital costs for major construction commitments. And eventually faster is kind of a weird word in the government world, but we can respond to the community and growing needs and evolutions as they happen. And it's really important that we look at this model to allow for service expansion around the Treasure Valley. And then, like I said, we did tour this back in July when it came available next door, Camp Rhino. This is a pretty large square footage. But we reviewed it with kind of our leadership team and then our real estate manager, and just didn't deem it really suitable for conversion to a library space. And a couple of reasons why is it does require a full system replacement, some major ADA improvements, plumbing improvements, and it's very limited natural light. It just has the storefront, and it's a really long space, so not very conducive for office and or library spaces. But we will continue to evaluate options in this retail center as well as others in the area.
So I brought this question to Emily earlier, but I'll just zoom out and say that having worked within the state system and in private enterprise, I am unaware of any other situation in which you are leasing facilities and the lessor is responsible for virtually all of the cost of bringing something to up to standards, including electrical and HVAC and most of the situations I have been involved with, including, as I said, with the state, that's on the landlord to cover those expenses, and you're doing genuinely the kind of tenant improvements. Oh, I want a new wall put in here because I'm creating a certain amount of space, but most of the basic elements that you identified in this roughly $7 million cost to move next door are borne by the city. And I just don't understand, is that something that is part of city regulations, or is that just an approach that's been taken? It just seems odd to me that you don't. Perhaps it's historical to the day or to the era when you had one-time money but had difficulty or a lack of desire to have your lease payments so high, and you pay for it all up on the front end and it keeps your lease payments low. I understand that, but in this case, we don't have that situation, and I just wonder about asking the landlord to cover all of those costs and just make your lease payments higher over the long term.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they would for sure be part of the lease negotiations. It would probably be a combination of this lease and then an adjacent lease and what would be part of their upfront costs. So, that's to be told. This is just a big picture worst case scenario if we were to, and whether it's upfront or whether it's spread out over monthly installments of our lease agreement. It's hard to say yet, but agreed it would be part of the negotiations. But we just want to be fully disclosing that upon our tour, these are the things that we observed.
Let me just say, I'm not speaking specifically about them. It came up in this situation, right, but it appears to be the same situation with Hollister, and as if we talked about even any potential new sites and new locations, that the initial cost seems to be being on the upfront in the millions of dollars to make these places usable as a library facility. And I just wonder how much of that we can ask the landlord to cover.
Yeah, we can certainly ask. And in both of our Hillcrest and Hollister are coming up for renegotiation. So there's an opportunity there to push back and see what we can get exchanged. But you are right. There are expenses that we pay that are part of the original lease from whenever they started in 2007 that we're on the hook for.
And I think that also shows the evolution of the city, when the library negotiated those leases, they did it on its own. And now the city has an actual, person who is in charge of real estate and lease negotiations. And so we have that expertise on staff now and are able to bring that in. And so when we did the tour of the potential space here, we actually brought that staff person with us who asked questions that I would never have thought to ask, which ended up being, I came in looking at it from could we do story time here? Could we do courier here? He came in with some fascinating questions that really helped us, or certainly helped me understand the complexities of lease negotiation in a way that I'm thrilled that we have his expertise on staff and can draw on.
And then moving into just city asset management system or strategy that we do for all of our, I guess our entire portfolio, but we do try very hard to be proactive and have scheduled maintenance approach across the city assets. When we speak of deferred maintenance, this is not our preferred way of doing things, letting something sit. It's very inefficient and then ultimately very costly to fix. So being proactive is really important to us, and just making sure that our facilities are safe and being upkept and trying to keep uninterrupted service at all times. And as we've touched on, we always want to be looking at energy efficiency and accessibility and ultimately long-term construction cost reduction by doing these routine maintenance activities. So yeah, and keeping our buildings welcoming and reliable aligns with our service goals as well. And this is a snapshot of the MEQ budget for 2026, but you can see the 5-year projected in the budget. And really this is MEQ goes to courier vans, the auto sorter, furniture, shelving, those type of things. So not a lot of funding for the system wide, as you can see, looking down the pike here. And we are working diligently now to quantify and schedule out maintenance and repairs across the system.
What does MEQ mean?
Major equipment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cole and Ustick, this is like Jessica mentioned, there's the bird strike mural that was put on the film, and then the new auto sorter that was just completed, which is great. Again, this was built in 2009, so we're coming up on some maintenance upgrades that'll be needed, just like any other building or your house. We gotta keep the lights on and continue to maintain the building systems. You can see in 2029, we might need to be looking at the roof replacement or repairs potentially, just based on warranty times from 2009.
So back to that.
Yep.
I mean, the parking lot is, having been there just today, is already kind of,
Showing where.
a mess. And so my assumption is that will be worked on more quickly versus less quickly.
Yes, that would be the hope. We would get that funded to do. And then the Bound Crossing, this came online in 2017, so we have a little bit more time to be proactive here, but we are, as you know, putting in an auto sorter in that top picture. Those tables will be replaced with an auto sorter. And then again, the bird strike mitigation film will be placed on that large window. And we have identified some repairs that are needed in the terrazzo flooring, as well as the acoustics in this building are poor. So wanting to get a project to kind of look at how we can mitigate some of the sound issues. And again, parking lot repair. We've done some ADA upgrades with our ADA upgrade funding in this building, but we need more in the parking and getting into the building. And then Collister, we have invested 10,000 in upgrading the lighting to LED and adding some controls just to help. And this is really just to cut down on our monthly utility bills and align with city goals for sustainability. But this again came in 2007, and you can see we have asterisks, right, with the roof, the mechanical, plumbing, in the hopes that landlord would step up and take care of things as they evolve and break potentially. Same with Hillcrest. This year we are upgrading lighting to LED. And then, as you can see behind us, we have the step ahead space that just got vacated, and we'll probably want to be repurposing that space to connect it potentially. But right now it's a great space for programming since we have that offline at the downtown library. Any questions? So overall, right now, we've identified about $3 to $5 million in MRM repairs on our existing owned facilities, not necessarily taking into account the storefronts, but we'll continue to refine that.
So one quick question about the Hollister facility, which is the smallest of our facilities. In terms of what is the availability in the future for adjacent spaces? And same way you looked at the adjacent space here and what it might take. Are there adjacent spaces available there as we go into negotiations for renewals? Maybe not immediately, but down the road. I think there's a lot of pressure in that part of town for more services, and yeah, it's the smallest of our spaces to work with it. Not even taking into account the personnel issues that we need if you expanded, but just in terms of facilities.
Yep, Don, who Jessica alluded to, is our real estate manager, and he's always looking around and making sure that we're staying, I guess, on the pulse of all the activity at our current locations as well as other opportunities around the valley. But until we have funding to really move into action, it's hard to stake claim anywhere, I guess I would say.
And I will say to Collister specifically, it has less turnover than this location. In the 5 years that I have been here, nothing adjacent has opened to the Collister location, and I can only think of one of the storefronts that actually did turnover. It has a lot less turnover than this location has had in the 5 years.
Questions of Lindsay?
Update. Thank you.
Very thorough, appreciate it. Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the new business.
This is going to be Renee Addington, and she is going to be sharing with you an update on our Colon Eustis location. Those of you who are on the board will remember in the beginning of fiscal year 24, we were able to put in place a new staffing model for the library, specifically at Colon Eustis, which is an extremely busy location in a growing neighborhood as well. It's a theme for Boise. But I'm really excited for her to be able to come back with an update for the board on what have been those investments and what we're starting to see in terms of impact to the community.
Thank you, Jessica. This is that big, beautiful bird window again. We're gonna milk these photos for all they're worth. It is really wonderful if you haven't gotten a chance to come out and see it, and just such an incredible collaboration between my team that expressed a need and heard a need from the community to reduce the bird strikes, and being able to work with Emily and the city's facilities team and the incredible students and professors at Boise State who put in so much effort and hundreds of hours of labor to design and print out all of these decals and apply all of them by hand is amazing. It's a really cool project, and I'm excited to see it happen at Bound Crossing and maybe eventually expand across other parts of the city. So I wanted to take us through some of the different investments that we've made at Colon Eustis over the past fiscal year beyond our lovely bird mural. So wanted to start by talking about staffing, which was one of the major investments that we made. So in this past fiscal year, we added a full-time branch supervisor, a full-time librarian one, 3 full-time library assistant 3s, and 1 part-time library assistant 3. So 6 new positions. This was incredible, not just to have this additional staffing to us, but it gave us a ton of opportunities for promotion. 2 of these positions were filled by folks internal to my branch, and 2 more came from within the greater Boise system. So it was nice to be able to have people move up. Having more staff has really, across the entire branch, helped make workloads more manageable and reduce staff burnout. Prior to having a supervisor, I was the direct manager for all 16 of our employees. Now we're able to break it up between myself and that branch supervisor to have fewer direct reports, and we're able to give a lot more support and development to our staff. Turnover has decreased really substantially in this past fiscal year. We had less than 1.5 full-time employees turnover. The previous year was 4. And the ones who did depart this year, 1 got a promotion at another branch, and 1 was a temp employee who went off to start her graduate degree in art history. So they were both really positive movements out of our building, versus the I am exhausted burnout and having to leave. So it's really good to see that improve for our staff.
And it's not just good for staff. I mean, at one point, Renee had 50% of her staff had been there less than a year. She spent all her time trying to train people so they could serve the public. That we really do look at that turnover, because if we can have a staff person that we have been able to train and keep, those are staff that are actually providing a quality level of service to the public, that they understand the systems, they know how to help people with all of our computers and technology. They're able to answer reference questions. They're able to provide good programming. Renee was constantly onboarding people for them just to leave. So in addition to the burnout that it had with staff, we just weren't able to provide programs to the public or services to the public in the way that we expect to be able to.
So not specific to, I mean, the question is to you because it's for your branch, but it applies to all of them. Are we paying our staff sufficiently that we're not losing them to other libraries in the region, in the valley? I mean, obviously Seattle pays more because it's a bigger city, but at least in the Treasure Valley, it's not a case where we're losing them to Ada County or to Nampa or something, I hope.
Sure, I can speak a little to it, and if Jessica or anyone want to add anything in, we work on an ongoing basis with the City of Boise's Human Resources Department to review staff wages and make sure that they are making an equitable market rate. And we have the advantage of having the city's really incredible benefits program. But I can promise you we well outpace the other library districts in the area in terms of wages and benefits. Yeah.
So when you're hiring new staff, obviously fewer this year, and that's good.
Yes.
Right. Are we mostly taking them from stealing them from other libraries in the region?
Yes, I do. I love to steal great people from other library systems. So we've had 2 of our folks who joined us this year joined us from Ada Community Library. We had 1 join us from Caldwell Public Library just over a year ago. And then another who wasn't immediately previously in libraries, but has extensive experience working in the public school libraries.
And I'll just add that one of the things that when we do talk to staff, they are appreciative of a board and city leadership that have such strong policies. We pull people because they want to work for a library that has really committed to open access for everybody. So the work that you all do in helping set policy, library staff look at policies when they're thinking about where they want to work. And we hear repeatedly, oh, I see what Boise's doing and I want to be part of it.
Any other questions? Okay. Right. Talk about that big, beautiful auto sorting. So if you were ever in our workspace previous to the past year, you'll know we had the desks that were original to the building, and they were big and clunky and did not use space effectively for the number of staff we had then, let alone with adding new staff. So one of the things we did was replace those desks with streamlined ones that allow for more staff and are consistent with city standards. So it's also nice to have something that is commensurate with what our other library and city colleagues are enjoying. We underwent construction to increase the working space for our sorter and also open up office and book drop space that again just wasn't being used effectively. We were able to tear down those walls and make the space much better for workflow. And then, of course, we installed our fabulous new auto sorter, which I'm pleased to say my name won the vote. She is named Xena Sorter Princess. The sorter's amazing. It's really decreased the time it takes to get materials checked in, which means we are able to get them back out on the floor, whether it's on the shelves for people to discover or folks holds getting directly into their hands and be able to adjust so that we can spend more time on things like shelving quickly that we did not have time for before, and really redirect so that we can spend more time with those public facing interactions and not just having to scan things and back.
I've actually, but one of the issue with this was so pronounced. So the Kolonistic is on a transit corridor. People are often driving by and just dropping off their books on days when we would have a holiday before the day the library would be closed all day. When the last person would leave, they'd have to pull out all the bins because there'd be so many books they would literally just spill out all over on the floor. Renee would actually have to schedule multiple people to come in on that Tuesday morning after a holiday because of the volume, just to try to catch up so that the book drop was no longer literally blocked by too many things coming in. I mean, it was really interesting just watching how you would have to schedule, like everybody's excited about a holiday, but nobody wanted Tuesday because you started, at least a day and a half behind. And so now you come in and you've just got the bins ready for people to move around.
Yeah. And we've been able to redirect we've always done a lot of check-in at the information desk at Colin USIC, and we've been able to start pulling those returns that come in and doing them in back so that those front desk staff can really focus on their customer interactions and not having to worry about those materials.
My vague memory is that this is in the back of the building, and there's still the bin in the front of the building. And are people going around to the back of the building and putting the stuff in? And how is that working in terms of finding the entrance for the auto sorter?
Yeah, great question. So Colin USIC has always been a little bit different than our other branches in that it didn't have those standalone outdoor book drops like you see here or at the downtown library. We just have two entrance slots into the building and parking spots that are right in front of them so people can walk up to the book drop and put their items in. So what we did was we just repurposed one of those penetrations in the building to be the slot for our auto sorter. We still have a little manual drop to the side of it, you can see, which is great because then, we close it weekly for an hour to do some maintenance and cleaning on the weekend, and we've still got that easy spot for people to drop things off.
What's the thing that looks like two eyes above an open mouth?
Googly eyes.
Yeah, they gotta have some fun.
Somebody's watching. It's very fun having people put things in and being able to wave and say hi to them through the little slot. That's good. And then this is the part that I am most excited to talk about, which is our programs and outreach. So this is two of our library assistants, Twyla and Nova, with the librarian at McMillan Elementary. They do an annual drive-through reading night where kids and their families drive up in their cars and all the teachers have giant books and they read a page of the story as they drive by. And then these folks are there at the end to give them their own books that they get to take home and keep and talk to them about different library programs at the public library. It's really cute. They also get like hot dogs and popcorn, I think. Having more staff has just dramatically changed the way that we are able to interact and interface with our community. When Jessica and Sarah first came to me that we were going to be making these investments in our staff, I was so excited because I feel like Colin Eustick, when it was first opened, had a really big promise to the community of how it would be engaged. And unfortunately, with the 2008 recession, there was a lot of impact on the way we were able to do that and just never quite able to fulfill it. And it's been amazing to see that come true. We've had a ton of different programs, outreach, partnerships, initiative. We've done. Two of my branch librarians at Colin Eustick, Mindy and Ellie, who worked with the Ada Community Library and Meridian Library to launch a partner program for 1,000 books before kindergarten. It's been wonderful working with partners because those three districts were so closely enmeshed. We serve a lot of the same families, and to be able to have the same experience, regardless which of those locations the families are going to, is awesome. We launched that program on May 1st. We've already had 137 kids enroll in the program, and 3 kids have already read 1,000 books. It's amazing. We've been expanding partnerships to underserved members of our community. So we've been working closely with the library's community resources coordinator, Haley Shalito, to bring in the Coffee and Conversations program that was successful downtown. We were able to duplicate that at Colin Eustick, which was also wonderful when we had to take that offline downtown with the closure to still be able to offer that. She also helps bring in Hayes House, which is the Idaho Youth Ranch's shelter for youths 9 to 18, and to have them come and do regular outreach to our community. We were also able to bring in a women's reentry networking group. So that is organized by folks from the Idaho Department of Corrections and brings together community organizations to help support women who are transitioning out of incarceration and get them access to resources. We've been partnering really a ton with Parks and Rec. It's really fun to see the different stuff that my staff have come up with. So we, with Dick Eardley Senior Center, have done pop-up senior programming on Fridays at the library. We've been coordinating programs and storytime visits between our branch and the Boise Urban Garden School. So we've been able to participate at stuff on site with them and have them come more into our library. Overall, in FY25, we saw an increase of over 3,500 additional program attendees, which was an increase of 27% from the previous fiscal year. We've expanded outreach for ages 0 to 18 at child cares and schools, including through support from the Idaho Commission for Libraries to provide their My First Books program at more locations. By being able to say yes to more of these opportunities, because we have the staff, we were able to reach out to twice as many people in fiscal year 25 as in fiscal year 24. So going from about 2,000 interactions out in the community to 4,700. And we've still got a ton of exciting things coming. One thing I would say you should all watch for, we're doing a volunteer fair in March. So my staff have invited 10 so far. They're working on a few more great community organizations like Boise Period Project, Idaho Food Bank, Babe Vote to come in and help people in the community who are looking for volunteer options be able to come in and meet folks from a bunch of different places. So we still have more exciting things to come. The most exciting of which is that starting February 1st, we are going to be expanding service hours at the Colin Eustick Library. One of the best ways we can continue to modernize BPL's services and have a serious dent in community impact is to have more service hours. So we will be adding 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sundays. I'm really excited. We know this is a hard time in our community, in our society, when people really need public services, and I am pumped that this is something we get to do.
That's great.
That's-
That's great.
Yeah.
Questions?
Can I ask a
Comments?
quick
Sure.
question? I remember when we were talking about the staffing model, and I just want to check my memory. Were we having problems keeping it open during its original hours? And did that improve? Okay. I'm not misremembering.
You were not misremembering.
Got it.
That was the turnover that we just,
There's a turnover, the closure, the.
that we
lack
just,
of outreach.
if Renee had, Renee would have sometimes 3 or 4 openings, and
Yep.
there's only so much math you can do with bodies. And that also, I mean, right now, the closure we had was plumbing related,
Yeah.
and it was, there were plenty of people, plenty of people. It's just that we had no running water in the building. And after a while, you can't do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions? We can't see you, Evelyn, so do you have any questions? Okay. Yes,
Just
please.
not gonna be surprised. I really appreciate this. I appreciate like hearing the positive impact. And then again, it really like directly furthers our strategic plan in providing expanded access. So in a really, I think, thoughtful way of thinking about how can you do it, more staff, and how does that free people up? So I just wanted to call that out and say thank you.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. It's great as a board to hear about the wonderful work that's happening on the ground, the way we're heading and impacting the community. Always talking about sort of policy.
This is the fun.
Stuff about facilities or. It's great. Thank you so much for your.
Thank you all.
So February 1st, right now the downtown library is the only location that is also open 7 days a week. So Cole Music will move to 7 days a week as well on that day. We're really excited about that because I think that will also help with alleviate some of the pressure on downtown. Now having 2 locations that are open on Sunday, we're excited to see sort of that shift as well. Sometimes people can only go to the library on Sunday, and so they've all been going downtown. And now we'll have 2 options for people. So you will see, now that the board knows, public knows about that, we have been working, Siobhan will start to promote that so that the community is aware of that as well as we get, I think her plan starts sometime in January, but I wanted to make sure you know the changes that were ahead.
Next new item is the annual report to the Idaho Commission for Libraries.
Yep, so I'll take this. Every year, the Idaho Commission for Libraries works with public libraries across the state to collect and release statistics on Idaho public libraries. It's a compilation of information about locations, hours, budgets, staff size, connectivity. You have seen this every December that you've been on the board. The one change that we wanted you to be aware of is actually this year, because of the loss of the online tool that ICFL uses, they moved everybody's deadline for submitting the report up from December 31st to December 1st. A huge thank you to James Souter, who had a big moment of I think he paled a little bit when that deadline moved up, since he's responsible for submitting it, but he was able to do that, so we were able to get that information to ICFL, and they have assured us if there are any changes or refinement that they'll be able to manually update it, but as I said, this is really sort of a routine report that we submit every year, so ICFL has the information they need for advocacy and reporting to the state. And is an action item.
Right. Any questions about it and changes that, I guess changes that you should,
Any edits?
yes, thank you, edits to it that people would like to suggest? It's certainly a thick, yeah, full of detail, report, submit every year.
I went through it carefully. It looked really good.
And I assume that in future years, we'll have a little more time to look at it before, or rather, little more. We will have time to look at it before it is submitted.
My
Unlike this year.
understanding is they want to have it back to the cadence.
Okay, so
previous-
it's just the technology.
It was
Forced
just
us everybody
the-
to
yeah.
move forward ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any other comments, thoughts, questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt the annual report to the Idaho Commission for Libraries as presented.
I move that we certify the 2025 Idaho Public Library Survey as prepared for the Idaho Commission for Libraries.
Second.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mom,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Pantera,
Yes.
Gizmoski,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carried.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the library director performance evaluation. We need to both select a committee to do that and to, in addition, put together a timeline for it.
Well, page 83 of the packet has the draft timeline. This again is routine. This follows the same process as last year, with the exception, I think we moved the first step of appointing the subcommittee to December. I think last year it was in January, but the feedback was to do it earlier. So we have revised this just slightly to start the process a little bit earlier.
And in the past, there was tradition has been that the executive committee who had served as the subcommittee for this purpose, if everyone is, unless I hear an objection to that or someone would like to be on it that isn't currently, entertain a motion to use the same process that we have used in the past. Yeah. Vice President, President of the board serve as this subcommittee. And again, we will, the process is this is that Jessica puts together a self-evaluation. We gather input from the city's staff, as well as some of Jessica's both her direct reports, and then the sampling of some folks from elsewhere of the staff in the organization. And then Nikki and I would put together a first draft or a draft of it, and then present it to an executive committee to the rest of the board for your review and edits as you see fit. And then we would move from there to meet with Jessica, and then to present it, submit it to the mayor's office. And keep in mind that unlike in some organizations, the way it was for me in the state, it is not necessarily that the evaluation has a direct impact on salary. So it's not like, oh, she gets a 3.2 and so she gets a certain amount of increase. It's certainly a consideration as things move forward, but it's not a direct correlation. So, unless I hear otherwise, I guess I need a motion. I would entertain a motion to use the same process we have in the past with your president and vice president serving as the subcommittee, and to use the processes we have in the past.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Patera,
Yes.
Kuznowski,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
I like how you guys are at the end of that roll call vote, so you would get, you could.
There's already majority.
There's already a majority, you can't say no at that point.
I did have one question, Jessica. Maybe the best place to ask this was during the director's report. There was one graph on page 37, and it's a,
I think that, are you looking at the programming attendance? That's the Boise Comic Arts Festival.
it has it in August. What was the date? I thought it was September.
No, it was that, it's that weekend of,
It's the 30th, 31st of August.
Oh, okay.
thank you.
All right. Okay, observation.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Goodness. All right, so, next on the agenda is the, selection of a trustee to review the payment vouchers. Evelyn, are you available to do that? That's gonna work for you.
Yes.
Great. And, our next meeting is then on Wednesday, January 14th. We have at least 3 people who can make that meeting. I'm certainly available. Is anybody else that has a no conflict?
I am probably gonna be in Chicago for work, so right now I don't think I will be available next month.
I have no known. It's a little.
It's the legislature.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least we know for sure 3 of us maybe this one. Okay, great. Thank you.
And as a reminder, and obviously Carrie will send this out ahead of time as requested and as proving to be beneficial. That meeting will be at Bow Crossing.
Just as a reminder, the council meeting later this month.
The Tuesday, the 16th. And I will send you a link if you want to watch it online.
Is there any other business to come before the board? None. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We don't even need a, we do need a, sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. Apologies. Thank you. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Pretty close to on time. Said,
Yeah.
47, less than. And then before.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Good night.